Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Standard 9 English. Today we're going to learn a poem, A Legend of the Northland by Phoebe Carey. This is the picture of the poet. Phoebe Carey, born September 4, 1824, Mount Healthy, Ohio, United States, was a well-known American poet and the younger sister of poet Alice Carey. The sisters co-published poems in 1949 and then each went on to publish volumes of their own. After their deaths in 1871, joint anthologies of the sisters' unpublished poems were also compiled. Phoebe Carey died on July 27, 1871, Newport, Rhode Island, United States. So the introduction of the poem, A Legend of the Northland, is a ballad. Ballad is such kind of poem which tells a story in short stanzas, and in the poem all the stanzas comprise 4 lines. In total there are 16 stanzas in this poem, and these stanzas will tell us a story. Ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. Folk culture is the story of in any area and is known as ballad. Folk culture comprises of traditional stories which are passed on from one generation to next generation. So this story is of the Northland area, the area which is near the North Pole. This exact place is not specified, but Northland means the area in the northernmost part of the earth, that is near the North Pole. And legend means a historical story, one which is very old and has been passed on from generation to generation. A Legend of the Northland is a traditional, popular story composed in the style of a ballad. It narrates the legend of how Saint Peter had once cursed an old lady for being mean and stingy. The poem thus imparts the important lesson that greed always gets punished. And now we'll move to the poem. Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like bear cubs in their funny furry clothes. So the poet introduces the place from which her story is derived. In the region around the North Pole, that's the Northland, duration of the day is very less because its position is such that the sun's rays reach for a very less time. When this area is experiencing winter season, the duration of the night is very long and the daytime hours are very less. In line 4, they refers to the people who live in this region. The poet says that the duration of the night is so long that the people cannot sleep them through. It is so cold that people cannot sleep comfortably at night. They often wake up because they are unable to bear the temperatures. If they go to bed, take a few hours of sleep and they wake up and it's still night time. She wants to emphasize on the fact that the duration of the night time is very long. And she also describes the people of the Northland. She says that when the snow falls, they like to go for sledging and they tie reindeer up to their sledges. Because of the cold, children wear woolen clothes which cover them up completely and they look like the cubs of the bears. They tell them a curious story. I don't believe it's true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. Once, when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it, preaching just as he did, you know. So the poet talks about how parents in the Northland tell their children a story. Here, they refers to the parents or elders and them refers to the children or the younger generation. The elders of the Northland region tell a strange story to the younger generation. Although the story may not be true, it should be told to teach children an important lesson. And the story is about Saint Peter, an apostle, a disciple or follower of Jesus Christ. when Saint Peter used to live in the world and went around giving religious lectures to the people, just like all the saints do, then an incident happened. He came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. So when Saint Peter was moving around the earth, giving religious lectures to the people, he reached the door of a cottage where a small woman was making cakes. She was baking the cakes in the fireplace. Here, the woman being referred to as a little woman, not because of the physical appearance, but because she was not so generous. She's actually small at heart. And as Saint Peter had not eaten anything the entire day, he was very hungry and was feeling weak. So he went to this woman who was baking cakes and he asked for one cake out of the many cakes that she had baked. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Therefore she needed another, and still a smaller one, but it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. So the woman was selfish. She did not give any cake from her store. Instead, she started making a very small cake for Saint Peter. She did not want to share her things, but when she put the cake for baking, she looked at it and thought that this cake was too big to be given to someone. The little miser woman thought that the cake was too big to be given away, so she started making another small cake. When she looked at the cake, she again felt that it was as big as the previous one. Again, she was not ready to give this small cake to Saint Peter. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat, and baked it thin as a wafer. But she couldn't part with that, for she said, "My cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away." So she put them on the shelf. The poet says that the woman made the third attempt to make a cake. So she took a very small amount of dough and rolled it. The poet says that she rolled and rolled, to lay emphasis on the fact that she rolled the dough and made it very thin like a wafer and baked it. But she was so greedy that she couldn't even give that thin piece of bread to Saint Peter. The woman reasoned that when she ate the cake, she felt that they were very small, but if she had to give them to someone, she felt that they were too big to be given away. So she put all the cakes on the shelf of her kitchen, and she did not give any cake to Saint Peter. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. And he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter, and fire to keep you warm." The poet says that Saint Peter's reaction to the woman was unbearable. He lost his temper because he was hungry and weak, and needed to have some food very badly. The behavior of the greedy woman irritated Saint Peter. Saint Peter cursed the woman and said that she was very selfish. She did not deserve to have such comforts of a human life. He added that God had given her warm fire, a house to live in, and good food to eat whenever she wanted. But she had become selfish for all the resources she had, and she did not want to share them with anybody. "Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard, dry wood." Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. Saint Peter cursed the woman that hence she would become a bird because she did not deserve the human form. She shall become a bird, and just like birds build their houses by boring into the wood, and collect very little food by working hard the entire day. Similarly, she would also work hard at the dry wood all day and get little food and make a small place for herself to live in. As soon as Saint Peter cursed the woman, she did not get a chance to speak for herself, because that very moment she flew up into the roof through the chimney and flew out in the form of a bird. Saint Peter's curse converted the woman into a bird. The same woodpecker could be seen flying out of the top of the chimney. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same. But all the rest of her clothes were burned, black as a coal in the flame, and every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. The poet says that the woman had been wearing a red cap in human form. The woodpecker's head has still the same shade of red color. However, her clothes were burnt and had become black as a coal. The woodpecker's body is of the same color. People who lived in the countryside, even the small children who go to the school, see this kind of birds in the woods. They see that she stays there all day and still digs into the bark of trees and looks for worms to feed on. Whenever any child sees this kind of bird, then his elders tell him this story. They say that the bird used to be a woman earlier. She was very greedy, and so she was cursed by Saint Peter and turned into a bird. They get a teaching that they should not be greedy. You could see a picture of Saint Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, and a picture of woodpecker. Also, the poem conveys the message that as human beings, we should have positive qualities like affection, love, fellow sense of sharing, etc. People also brings forth the idea that people with negative, inhuman values like selfishness, greed, and cruelty are ultimately punished. The blessing of human life with food, shelter, and warmth have to be earned through good moral conduct. Let's look into the poetic devices of the poem. Alliteration, the repetition of vowel sounds and of consonant sounds. The poets repeat sounds with the purpose of making a poem lyrical. So the examples in this poem are in their funny furry clothes. Here the poet repeats F sound. If I tell the tale to you. Here the poet repeats T sound. And being faint with fasting, F sound has been repeated in this line. And still a smaller one. S and L sounds have been repeated here. Then she took a tiny scrap. Here the repetition of T sound. My cakes that seem too small. S sound is repeated here. Repetition. Repetition of words or phrases is a literary device that a poet employs for the purpose of emphasis. In the opening of the poem, Away, away in the Northland, the repetition of away emphasizes how distant the Northland is. Similarly, in the line, and rolled it flat, the repetition of rolled emphasizes that the lady rolled the dough many times to make it as flat and thin as a wafer. Again in line, by boring and boring and boring for food, the repetition of the word boring emphasizes the hard effort that the woman turned woodpecker has to make to find its food. Enjambment. Enjambment is a literary device, refers to the practice of running lines from one to the next without using any kind of punctuation marks to indicate a pause. Examples are, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. Here the first line rolls on to the next. And the children look like bears' cubs in their funny furry clothes. Here there is no comma or full stop after the first line, and it rolls on to the second one. For she said, my cakes that seem too small, when I eat of them myself, are yet too large to give away. The first line carries on to the next without any punctuation marks. Next, simile. Simile is a comparison between two distinctly different things, is indicated by the word like or as. The examples are thin as a wafer. The thinness of the cake has been compared with the thinness of a wafer. Thus, the cake was too thin to qualify as a proper cake. The comparison also highlights the little woman's greed and stinginess. Next, as black as coal. The body of the woodpecker became as black and dark as a coal is. Next, children look like bears' cubs. The children who dress up in a thick furry clothes been compared to bear cubs. Next, personification. Giving human qualities to animals. The example is where she lives in the trees. Here the woodpecker bird being personified as the little woman. And next, rhyme scheme. The poem is in the form of a ballad with 4-line stanza. Each stanza follows the pattern of the rhyme scheme A, B, C, B. And that's the end of the poem, A Legend of the Northland. Kindly listen again for the better understanding. Thank you.